Hi everybody, going to be making this card today, which is based on the lid of a Distress Oxide ink pad, and a couple of stamps from the new collection and some older ones. I have had this badger in my stash for I don't know how long, embarrassingly long probably, and haven't used him, and I had him out for another idea, and I'm in love now. I think he'll be featuring everywhere. There's so much you can do with him, and they're just gorgeous. They're just beautiful. So this came about, this card, because I'd come across something called Inkbox cards on Instagram. So people make ATCs, people make artist trading coins, and somebody's been, a few people have been making Inkbox cards by drawing around the size of their ink pad box and using that as the substrate for making cards and swapping. And I don't know what made me think about printing with the lid, but that's what I did, and I really enjoyed it. It's a technique I'm gonna try with other colours, with other stamps. It's quite a therapeutic one, I have to say. So to make this card, you'll need a Distress Oxide of your choice. I'm using Scorched Timber. I've got a bit of stenciling in the background. I'm using Olive because that coordinates well with that brown. I've got a VersaFine Clair pad. I'm using Fallen Leaves, and I'll mention the stamps as we go along, but they'll be listed below as well as usual. Okie doke, let's get going. So this piece of card, it measures 10 centimetres by 10 centimetres. I'm going to get my ink pad, and using the felt pad there, I'm going to ink up this edge on the lid. Now I quite liked it when I left a bit of a corner free for a bit of interest, really. Then I'm going to stamp that down roughly in the middle. There we go. And we've got a nice square. I love squares. I really like working with squares. I've got a number 4 brush. I'm just going to get that wet. And how I inked this was, I kind of wetted underneath, which you won't be able to see, but hopefully you can tell from the brush. I put some water underneath and then brought that up to touch where the stamp pad has got a line. And what that does is it extends the ink from the line. If I just wet the edge like this, it just sits there. So some water underneath, and then bring it up to touch that puddle. There we go. This is a bit, I just find it really relaxing. It's kind of one of those, I don't know how you could go wrong with it, really. It's an easy technique, and like I say, you could try it with all sorts of different colours. There's your base. There we go. There we are. Okie doke. Now, rather than you listening to the dryer and me knocking the mobile phone holder everywhere, I'm going to put that to one side and get a dry one, which is here. Okay, so I'm going to start with my badger. He's grandly called Badger, and the other one, facing the other way, is called Badger 2. Bless them. It's probably called Brock or something like that in his secret life. So I thought I'd ink him up in a dark brown I know badgers are black and white, but I think when they get older, I think their fur does go a bit brown. But I just thought I'd have a go with kind of quite a monochrome card. But you can choose which colour you would like to use. So let's stamp him. So he's just standing on the edge of this square. And also earlier on I'd stamped another one of him and cut him out just so I've got a mask. Now let's add our, which you can do it in any order really. I'm going to put this thorn, these dragon thorns, as if they're behind him. Now I was trying something out earlier, so I needed just his head, so he's half a mask. so this is the whole of him, poor badger. So I'm going to put that there. Find the dragon thorn. I think these are, I mean, all tracer stamps are beautiful, aren't they? The detail is exquisite, but these really make me think of fairy tales and castles and fighting your way out of somewhere. Okay, let's get a piece of paper, because I'm going to mask that off at the top there, because I don't want my thorn coming out any further than that. Ink up my thorn. There we go. Make sure he's masked off like that. Yep. I'm going to stamp. Oh, it's moved. You see, if I'd found a post-it note, and I wasn't trying to put my arms around a camera, that wouldn't have happened. If you stamp on it, you know, where the glue is on the post-it note, you can stick it so it doesn't move. There we go. It's not too bad. And let's ink that up again. And pop that there. Overlap some of those gorgeous curvy thorny branches, and I'm going to do some similar at the bottom underneath him. So again, get a piece of paper and stamp as if these are in the foreground in front of him. So he's walking through a thorny thicket, I think. I'm going to be rescuing our little fairy Dana, or she's showing him the way, one or the other. There we go. So there's our badger. We can pop our little fairy on. So all of this stamping I'm doing with VersaFine Fallen Leaves. Ink up my little Dana. Now sometimes when I've not, you can't see it, but if I've not stamped for a minute or two, and I think I might have forgotten how to do it, sometimes I just reassure myself by stamping off on a little piece of paper before I stamp anywhere else. Right, so Dana is sitting on the top. There we go. Now in the background I've got a little bit of stenciling, and I've also got a little bit of text. The text is one of the signs. There's lots of sets of signs. There's spirit signs, moon signs, there's a few of them. This is the spirit signs stamp set, but to be honest, you can use any because you're not going to be able to read any of the words. They are just in there for a bit of texture. So I'm stamping it off onto my blank scrappy paper and just popping it in there. Also going to pick up my stencil. This is Foliage, and just with a little bit of Olive Elements, and I'm brushing that off on my pads. I'm just going to go for the lightest of inkings. There we go. Sorry, I knocked the camera then. And we're nearly done. I'm going to get my Distress Oxide, press it down onto an ink pad and add a bit of water to it. There we go. And what that can do is it can just give a bit of depth to my badger. Give him a bit of colour so he's not so white. And I'm bringing in a bit of just use some water to fade that off, fade into his whitish bit. And I'm going to use the rest of that in a minute to do a little bit of splattering, but first I'm going to get a bit of Wink of Stella on the fairy's wings. I do love this stuff, it just adds, must have really, really fine glitter in it because it catches the light. I don't know whether you can, yeah, there you go, can you see? Catches the light so beautifully, and it's so quick. One of my favourite things, that. Then I've got a zig pen, a yellow one. This one, oh, it's just called yellow, this one. It doesn't matter, as long as it's a light colour, you know, something the colour I like would be, you are fine. So again, just popped a little bit around, and I'm going to use a wet brush, a damp brush I would say, it's not really wet. A damp brush to just pull that yellow round, make it fade out. There we go. And then I'm going to get my mask again, just because I don't want to splatter my badger with splatter. I'm going to pick up some of that wet Distress Oxide that we painted the badger with. Give it a few little spots, and then another favourite. Now I know these are expensive. They're an investment pot. These are just delightful. The gold that you get with these, I just love. So I'm just going to dip it in, and we'll just add a little hint of gold to our card. That's it. They're not just beautiful, it's not just beautiful gold, it's a gorgeous little pot as well. Over time I've built up to get all three, but I did start with the gold one. So there we go. So all we need to do now is dry that off, which might dry in time for me while I ink up the words. So we're just going to add Believe in the Magic. Now that's off the stamp, which I think is called Believe in the Magic. Now I did clean this because I know Jo will have a heart attack if she sees how dirty this is, but that's a definite stain. Who knows what from, but you can at least see the lettering now. And what I'm going to do, you can use your Kuretake pens to do this if you want, but I found this was a bit more bit tighter. It was a bit neater really if I used my VersaFine, because it's ink that lends itself to these tiny details, and because it's the top line, well, you can see this, I can just use that corner to ink up. Now just check it, make sure it's gonna, nice. I need a bit more, so I know that I didn't ink that up enough, so let's make sure I do this time. Too busy talking to you. And if you get it on the words below, you can always wipe that off with a baby wipe type. There we go. I'm going to risk that one. Pop it under here. Oh, you can't see me. You have to believe me that I'm doing it just slightly off camera. Push it up. There we go. And there we are. Pop it on a mount, and you've got our badger with Dana showing him the way out of the thorny thicket. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if you make one. I'd love to see everybody's interpretations, and I think there's a lot you could do with that ink lid printing technique. I think we could, there's all sorts, isn't there? All sorts of colours and patterns and foliage and characters that you could pop in there. Hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you. Bye.